Well, look at this guy. This is the first time we've talked to John Canzano from Indianapolis because he is at the Big Ten Media Day covering the LA schools, Washington, and Oregon. It's the Bald Faced Truth, his radio show down there in Portland, Oregon. His weekly, of course, brought to you by Zeke's Pizza. Visit Zeke'sPizza.com and JohnCanzano.com. You want all of the latest and the best coverage. If you're a West Coast football fan, a Northwest football fan, JohnCanzano.com's got stuff up there right now. He's going to have stuff all week long. He's in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm in the Puck Sports Studios built by Limback Lumber. Hey, give that computer a twirl.
Yeah, you want to see the scene?
I want to see the scene. So are you the first one in there?
No, we're in Lucas Oil Stadium where, all these 18 teams will be here over the next 3 days. But take a look around. The logos are going to just jump out at you as you see like Oregon's logo around. Yeah. This is Radio Row that you're seeing now. There's the main stage over
next
there.
Next to Purdue.
You're going to catch Yogi Roth, formerly of the Pac-12 Network, walking right there, right in front of the camera. Ashley Adamson's over there now with the Big Ten Network. There's the breakout stages, but this is where the Colts get their magic done, and this is apparently where the Big Ten Conference do it. But I just want to, can I show you up on the big screen, they've got the logos over there. I don't know, the glare of the lights is in the way.
I can see it a little bit.
But it's just weird to see Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State logos kind of all side by side, and Washington up there between USC and Wisconsin.
How surreal is this?
It's bizarro. Ashley Adamson said it. She, again, Pac-12 Network person. She's now on the stage at the Big Ten Network, and she goes, "This is like bizarro world." And Guy Haberman, Yogi Roth, Ashley Adamson, myself are kind of going, we all have to learn this. This is all new things, new SIDs to get to know, and new programs, new coaches. Some of this is going to be refreshing in a way because there'll be some new matchups, but it's weird. It's just really weird. Yeah. Later today, are you catching up with the Big Ten commissioner?
Yeah,
right after I do this interview, I've got a one-on-one with Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner. He's already been on the stage.
Juicy.
The big stage. And, he was peppered with questions about, do they want to expand more? He says, no, they're good at 18. What's the playoff going to be like? And that's the one thing that everybody's kind of been talking about. The people I've been speaking with have been talking about the playoff being bigger than anything like in college that college sports has ever seen. Now, I don't know if it'll rival the Super Bowl, but they feel like the CFP is going to blow up this year as an expanded thing. And I had one executive of the Big Ten say, hey, look, even Washington State and Oregon State, like, let's just say Washington State gets that berth that goes to the G5 schools. This could be an interesting tournament with, a lot of backstories and storylines going on, but it's just a little surreal. This is not Vegas. This is not a nightclub. This is, an NFL stadium and 18 teams.
Yeah, it's and so then none of the West Coast schools go today, right? So on day two, which is tomorrow, you got the LA schools, and then day three is Oregon and Washington.
Yeah, they did an interesting thing. They put Oregon and Washington on the same day, day 3. They put USC and UCLA on day 2. So I get what they're kind of doing. Like the LA media will come in. Ohio State will go later today. Michigan and Penn State, they spread them all out. So the national guys can't just come in and get like Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon on the same day and then get out of town. No, they've scattered these things over 3 days. But some of the more regional media, I know people who cover Oregon and Washington who are only coming in for day 3. Yeah. So I'm here for all 3 days. I'm immersing myself in this.
Because you know what you are? You're a professional.
I guess.
That's why we pay you. That's why the Zeke's pays you the big bucks. Yeah, you got a suit jacket on.
Oh, I mean, kind of nice. We could go out to a nice dinner wearing this jacket.
But this is kind of because you covered the Big Ten.
Yeah, 1998, 99. I covered the Big Ten, but I was always struck by, why do people live here? And I don't mean to knock it. But it's my biggest
Indianapolis
takeaway.
Or the Midwest?
The Midwest in general. It was almost like people were migrating, and they got here in the spring or the summer, and they went, "This is really nice. The weather's great. Let's go. Let's stop here," and they stopped. And then winter came. And then they didn't move. They just hunkered down in one spot for generations. And in 1998, Drew Brees was the quarterback at Purdue. I was covering Purdue football. It was great. Bobby Knight was a coach in Indiana, IU. I was covering IU basketball. It was great. It was a great job. But I was never under the impression that I was going to live here forever. I knew I was leaving. I knew it was going to be a season or two before I got out and got west. But, I looked out my hotel room window today in downtown Indianapolis, and I looked down at this park that they have down there, and there's a giant Oregon duck, one of those blow-up kind of promotional things. It's just giant. And I'm like, that doesn't really fit here. Like, I bet you that's never happened before, that duck has been on that lawn ever before in downtown Indy.
Hey, what do you think? Here's what happened. They were tired of traveling from the east. The wagons were tired. That's what was happening.
Trail.
They were just done. And you know what? They're like, let's just stop here. Okay, we're done. I'm not going over. We've heard about this mountain range out there called the Rockies. Yeah. We're out.
Yeah, and I think my third or fourth grader, I can't remember what grade she's in. It's summertime. She did the Oregon Trail last year, so I was hearing about dysentery and broken wagon wheels.
We did
all that stuff.
Yeah, I love that. We always died of dysentery.
But it's like nobody that I asked that question to in the Midwest ever said, anything more than like, well, it's where my grandparents lived. And, I just keep going west.
I just saw the picture of the duck.
Yeah.
That thing, it looks like the State Puff Marshmallow Man from
Giant. Ghostbusters.
That is massive.
Yeah, and they were filming some kind of promotional thing because I could see the scene from my window. Yeah. And the headquarters of the NCAA are like across the street. And Lucas Oil Stadium's like a half a mile away. So I could see all of it. And I was like, this is just weird. And I think when the football starts, it will feel more normal. But think about what we have gone through in the last 2 years. It's been NIL, it's been transfer portal, it's been realignment. Come August 2nd, the 4 new schools are officially in to the Big Ten. But I think once they start playing some games and we're into week 2 or week 3 and Oregon State is playing Oregon and Washington State's playing Washington, maybe it'll feel a little more normal at that point, but it's not today.
Can you get a sense maybe when you're there, maybe you have it already, but maybe it's going to take the week to be there. Are the people, the Midwest fans, are the schools themselves, are they excited about these West Coast schools coming?
There's some excitement about going to some new places, and I think it goes both ways. Like some Oregon fans are excited to go to Wisconsin this next season or Purdue, and
it's a great spot.
See something new. They've seen Arizona, they've seen Arizona State, they've seen Utah, so it creates a novelty, and you're going to see something new. So I have heard like some Purdue fans reached out to me and said, "Hey, they're coming out for the Oregon State game." There's a novelty with that game, too. And they're going, hey, where should we stay in Portland, or what restaurants would you recommend? There's a novelty that happens in college football when you get these crossovers. But by and large, like the Iowa fan, the Illinois fan, the Purdue fan, Indiana, Rutgers, Maryland, they're not excited about having 4 new teams in that are going to finish in front of them. Like, maybe UCLA won't, because I don't think they're going to be great, for the foreseeable future in football. But you got to deal with USC, Washington, and Oregon now. And if you're Iowa or Illinois or Rutgers or Purdue, you're not finishing in front of those schools. And so I think there will be a little bit of a bad taste with some of those schools where they go, hey, we had a great season and we're 5th, and I think, Penn State, Ohio State, they could deal with, but now you've layered in a number of other schools that are coming in. They're all pretty good except for UCLA. And I think a good year for Iowa could be, hey, they're 5th. A good year for Purdue could be their 5th. And so I think the calculus has changed.
Yeah. When they start pushing teams out, though, if they ever get to the point where they start pushing teams out.
Oh, they will.
So like if I'm Maryland, who else
Purdue,
should be concerned?
Indiana, Purdue, Maryland. I mean, if you go to the SEC, you're looking at Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. Yeah. Could Northwestern be in trouble? You start to wonder because, and what's going to fuel that is the next media rights negotiation in 2031, 2032 for the Big Ten. A couple years in front of that, I think you're going to see, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. They're going to go, hey, we're worth more. And they may not say, we want you to take a lower distribution. What they may say is, we want unequal revenue sharing. Like, we make the playoff, we want more of the money. We don't want to share that equally. Or they may say, we just want a larger distribution, which is code for you get less. And so I do think they'll try to squeeze those schools a little bit. And I think they'll put them in a position where they either have to decide, hey, we can't do this anymore because we can't pay athletes on the level that Ohio State and Oregon and Michigan are doing. Or they'll have to just say, we're going to find the money somewhere else.
We're going to be all over the place, but I want to go back to Ashley Adamson, and then Guy and
Guy
Yogi,
Haberman and Yogi.
Yeah. Do they you get a sense? Can you ask them? I'm curious. Do they feel like they're cheating on West Coast football? And I say that because they need a job.
Yeah.
They want to work. This is an opportunity. So they're going to work. I think no one, and not, including myself, are saying they should have said no and not joined them. But I am curious if there is a little bit amount of guilt.
I think they feel weird about it. Yeah. I think if the Pac-12 existed in the Pac-12 network existed, they would have stayed with the Pac-12 network.
Sure.
So I don't think the reality is that they could have said, no, I don't want to do it. The optics, it's a job, and I don't think they had a network it wasn't like they were leaving the Pac-12 network to go to the Big Ten network. There was no Pac-12 network. There's nowhere for them to be. And I still think they're going to have some connections with the Pac-12. There may be some games in the future in the CW or whatnot. Maybe they pop up doing a show here or there. If the Pac-12 is streaming some stuff, there's been some talk about the Pac-12 keeping their their commercial-driven streaming service alive. I'm told they're going to do that. So I think, I don't think so, but I get what you're saying. Because right now, look, I'm looking behind me. I'm just going to give you a shot. Ashley Adamson's on the stage right now in that pink jacket, and she's on the Big Ten network right now doing kind of a studio show here at the media day. And she's doing what she's always done. And so I don't think you blame them for that, but there's a weirdness to it.
How do you think Midwest fans are going to warm up to Yogi and his talking ball?
I don't think so. I mean, look, Yogi. There's a place in the ecosystem for Yogi.
I know. I'm just saying, Midwest is very, very particular.
But for me, I'm not for everyone either, Puck. Like, let's be real.
That's true.
I think it's part of, and I don't want to be for everyone. I've got a stripe of people that's like that narrow that love me.
So you're going to talk to the Big Ten commissioner, Tony Petitti, coming up here soon. What do you want to know?
First, I want to humanize the guy. He is the son of a New York City cop. So I think we're going to do about 20 minutes talking about what it's like to be the son of a New York City police officer. I want to know who he is. I want to drill down on who this guy is, what he's about. Of the conference commissioners, Brett Yormark's out there crowing from the mountaintops. Greg Sankey, visible, talking a lot. We haven't heard a lot from Tony Petitti. Jim Phillips in the ACC, he's got his hands full, but he's been out front. Today was the first time I've really heard Petitti talk. And so I'm interested to know why. I'm also interested to know how are they going to determine tiebreakers in this conference? Nobody seems to know. Not everyone's going to play everyone. Who plays in the conference championship game, and how do you break a tie? Nobody has seemed to figure that out. And I kind of think the tiebreak might be if it's Ohio State, Oregon, USC, Penn State, it's them, and if it's
the tiebreaker is what's the best for TV.
Yeah.
That's the tiebreaker.
That you kind of get that feeling a little bit, but I keep asking people and they say, well, there's no, like they haven't determined yet what the tiebreaker will be. We all know, anyone who's ever played in a playground football game knows you need to know the scoring and the rules before the game kicks off.
Of course.
So they have I think a narrow window to figure that out. I also, want to know about the greater good. Nobody talks about the greater good except you and I. Well, is any of this good for college
It's not.
Football, college athletics? Is this good for the West Coast, what's happened? Like, does anybody thinking about what's good while they're gobbling up money and revenue and raking it all in?
No.
Yeah.
It's not good. But it's just, what will eventually be our downfall as a society is just greed.
Yeah.
It's just greed.
But don't you know, like in your household, there's somebody in your household, Puck, who has to be interested in the greater good. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's your wife. Okay. So she's focused on, all right, what's good for the ecosystem, the family, vacations, planning, how you spend your time, how, it's somebody's thinking about it all. And because if you all just sort of did what you wanted to do on a daily basis, there would be chaos. And I know some families that operate that way, and it's just chaotic.
She wanted to watch an episode of The Bear. Do you ever watch The Bear last night? Yeah. And I said, okay. I go, I don't know how to get to it. Can you get to it? And she grabs the remote. She goes, right. Why do I got to do everything around this house?
That's right.
Like,
there's nothing.
You're the CEO. I don't know. What do you want me to?
You know how you find out who's in charge in your household? You go on a vacation and you have to log into a Netflix or a Hulu.
Oh, yeah.
It's whoever has the password.
Of course. She's got them all.
It's whoever.
She's got all. Actually, you know what? I've got all the passwords, but I'm not in charge of anything. There's nothing I'm in charge of.
She just says, give me the password. Give me the password.
I'll do it. She fixes everything. I can't fix a damn thing.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of smoke here, John, with the Big 12 and we're going to expand to 24 teams and all of this. And there's a lot of and I think it's tugging at the heartstrings of Cougar fans and Beaver fans.
Okay.
Because it's like this, they're going to pull you in. Is there anything with Oregon State, Washington State, Big 12? I mean, what's going on with Brett Yormark?
Well, I think there will always be something with Oregon State, Washington State, and the Big 12 until things get settled, because I think they have to run that ground ball out. And I've heard that, metaphor in a number of different ways, but that's the best one I like. That's the one I like. Got to run out that ground ball, and you got to keep running it out until there's nothing there. I have long believed that there is strength in numbers. And I think that is the antidote to the lopsided field that college football has right now. The Big Ten and the SEC have kind of run away with the revenue. They negotiated an unfair split of the college football playoff revenue. They have, leveraged themselves into a position. I think Mike Oresco, the retiring commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, he called it Darwinian, how they sort of exerted their influence. There's strength in numbers, though. The problem is, though, if you get beyond about 20 in your conference, do you really have a conference? Can you really make decisions? Are you too geographically spread out? Because, one of the things that has made conferences great, made the Pac-12 great, made, the Big Ten in its old form great, and the SEC still has it, is that you have sort of tight geography in those conferences, and you have schools that were similar in mission and similar in makeup. And when you get to 20, 22, 24, you start to lose geography. You start to lose that congruency of vision that is very important for an organization. So I think you have to be careful. But I think you want as many voices, as much power and influence. If you could create a block of teams that say, hey, we're going to leverage, you need someone to play. If you're the Big Ten and the SEC, we won't play you unless you come to the table in a meaningful way. Maybe it is strength in numbers. So I don't think the door is closed, but I don't buy all the smoke. I think there's a lot of media people out there that are just creating smoke to create it. I haven't heard that from Brett Yormark. I haven't heard that from Oregon State or Washington State. They're all trying to stay in contact. They're all trying to forge relationships. If something happens in the ACC, I definitely think that there could be a reaction in the Big 12 that would add some schools. But
you don't necessarily believe Greg Sankey or even Tony Petitti when they sit there and go, we're not worried about expansion right now. I mean, they're just saying that publicly. But if these teams become available, would they add Florida State despite them, or Clemson despite them not being, what is it, the AAU?
Yeah.
Or the
not AAU. University? Yeah, they'll say, hey, we'll get there in 4 years. But what they're really saying is they're saying that the TV networks are telling them that there's no appetite right now for more money. Okay. The media deals are not up. They have sort of exhausted the provisions in the contracts that allow them to take extra teams. The Big 12 had to get an exception from its media partners to add Utah in the end because it was one too many schools, and they got it. So what I think they're saying is right now ESPN, Fox, CBS, and the others just don't have an appetite for it. It's why Yormark, I think, keeps talking about private equity as the solution, If you're going to add Clemson, you're going to add Florida State, are you adding them because a private equity company is going to say, hey, we'll pay to make this more valuable to everyone because we think the next media rights negotiation and CFP negotiation, if you have these schools involved, you're worth more. So do you add value? That's a question for Oregon State and Washington State. What value do they add? They must continue to fund like their Power 4 members. They must continue to invest. They have to build their brands like Utah did in football, like Oregon has in football. You look at the markets in Eugene and Salt Lake, Washington State and Oregon State, you could be like them, but you got to invest and you got to matter because when that opportunity comes, you don't want to be that same old little engine that could.
Yeah. Are you? Have you scheduled something with Jonathan Smith? You have not talked to him since he left, correct?
I haven't talked to him. I've texted a little bit, but nothing of substance. I'm eager to see him. He'll be on the main stage over here to the side on Wednesday. I also have reached out to Michigan State and said, hey, I would love a one-on-one to sit down with him. I'm anticipating I'll get that. The coaches, as they're on the stage, then break off of the stage and they go to little mini stages. And I'm sure I can pull him over for an interview. I don't think he'll want to dodge me. I mean, here's the thing I liked about Jonathan Smith last November and December. He was at least honest.
I agree.
He, like a lot of coaches will lie. I think you said they're born liars or they're paid
professional
to lie.
liars.
Professional
they're all
liars.
professional liars.
They
but
will
he
lie.
He told you the truth.
Yeah. He said, my agent best be out there looking for an opportunity. Yeah. That's his job. He's getting a percentage of a couple $1,000,000 to go look for jobs. And in that interview, it was so weird, Puck. You've been in this situation. You know when you request an interview and you can tell someone's reluctant to come on.
Yeah.
You know that, hey,
that's most people that I asked to come on.
But that week, it was Civil War week. There was all this smoke about, is Smith gone? Is he going to Michigan State? I never reached out to him to ask him to come on the show. So here came Tuesday of that week. His people reached out to me and said, Jonathan wants to come on. Oh. I thought either he's going to say, hey, I'm staying, I'm in this, let's put this to rest, or he was going to say, I am leaving. And when we did the interview and he said, oh, my agent's job is to be out there looking, he best be looking, and he laughed about it, and he said, I just want to be honest with people. I went to commercial break, and I got in the ear of my board operator, and I said, he's gone.
Yeah.
But he was honest.
He was. Yeah, yeah. Boy, he's got I'm just looking at their schedule right now. I'm just curious. He did not have this lineup, in the Pac-12. I mean, there was always some daunting teams, sure. But his stretch of September 28th through October 26th, that month of football, where he's at home against Ohio State, then he's got to go back to Eugene to face Oregon, and then Iowa at home, and then at Michigan.
That's 0-4.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's 0-4. He's got Aiden Childs, though. I mean, I think
that's right.
I think they could win 5, maybe. If they won 6, it would be a huge year for them.
Starts off pretty okay for him. Florida Atlantic, at Maryland, Prairie View, and then Boston College.
4-0 there.
Yeah.
But I think they win 5 or 6. And look, he's a good coach. He'll get it figured out. He'll win some games. I think if he had waited, he would have got a better job. He might be at Washington right now. He might be at UCLA. Those were better jobs. But his agent, first port in a storm, as they say. He jumped to the first place that looked decent.
How do you think Jed Fish is going to do in the Midwest?
He'll be fine. Jed Fish has been everywhere. I mean, one thing about his resume, he's lived everywhere. He's seen it all. That guy could be do a reality show, tour guide of America. But
the media's they're gonna eat him up. They're gonna love him.
They're
gonna love him because he's a good talker. He can relate to everybody.
He's a good talker, and he's got a real different experience too. And I'll give him credit. He has done a really nice job of kind of selling what he knows. And
sure,
it's neat to kind of see a person kind of understand where they fit in the ecosystem and go for it. And Fish, he's got the NFL experience. He's selling that, and he's banging that drum. And it's Pete Carroll. It's Bill Belichick. Hey, I've been to the promised land. I can help you get there. All that is good.
And recruiting well. He's done a pretty good job there in the recruiting circles.
But will he win Will he win in week 3? That is a question.
Will he in week 3? Oh, he's not going to win.
Yeah.
He's not going to win against Mike Coog. It's not going to happen at all.
That is a really
Dickert ball. Let's go.
That is a game because Washington State. Dickert did a really good thing in that he retained a lot of guys that we didn't think he would retain. That roster had retention, and those guys are going to be flying around. Now, and we all know when a new coach comes in, it takes you a few games to get your guys, to get your system. It'll be interesting to see that sort of conversion of things with the emotion on top of it. Big game.
Yeah, well, it's a monster game. I think there's going to be a lot of emotion inside that stadium, and I think for the first, I think there's been vitriol to that game. I think this is the one that's going to have the most vitriol.
Neutral site too. Come on,
Yeah, they need to get the tickets going. There's not a lot of people buying the tickets. Has not
weird.
Been a sellout. Well, I think I think a lot of Cougar fans just didn't want the game to happen.
Yeah, and
they don't like the time of year, and they're like, you know what? F you guys.
But we're not going to feed into it. But Ann McCoy has said it. The AD there, she said it like it's part of the brand, right? Like if the Washington State fans show up to that game in droves, it will be a small piece of the message that Washington State needs to send to the rest of college football, that it has a passionate fan base that shows up, win, lose, or draw, that will watch games on TV. It's all part of we can hold up the metrics all we want. Like, hey, look at all the people that tuned into their games on FS1 or the Pac-12 network. Strong numbers, better than people expect. But those Washington State fans need to buy those tickets in order to, help with that brand. And
I think they will.
That's the conundrum.
I think as they get closer, I think it will happen. Last thing, the Big Ten doesn't do a media poll. Like everybody, like all the media outlets do it, right? But the Big Ten doesn't put one. I
didn't see one, so
okay.
I don't know. I
saw Washington 10th in a lot of them, and then Oregon was 2nd.
Well, here's another thing. They'll let you bring bottled water onto the field, but you can get coffee backstage. But they won't let you bring it onto the football field. What's with coffee not being allowed on the football field?
Why?
I don't know.
Can you ask somebody
Security
about that?
Security guard said that's what he was told. They don't want coffee on the football field. So I don't understand.
Okay. Go. You'll have your piece with Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, probably up later today, johncanzano.com?
That's probably later today or tomorrow morning, depending on what he says. But I've already got something up now, sort of my inaugural look at this conference and my first thoughts on being here on Media Day.
Okay, he's the best. He's got boots on the ground. John Canzano. Follow him on social media. And then, of course, read all of his work at johncanzano.com. Listen to the radio show, at the Bald-Faced Truth down there in Portland, Oregon. His weekly appearance here on Tuesdays, brought to you by Zeke's Pizza, zekespizza.com for the best selection of local Northwest craft beers. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Buck.
There he is, John Canzano. Again, every Tuesday here at pucksports.com. Thanks.